Save the King!
Hello and welcome to another episode of Pod Save the King. It has been an absolute scorcher here in the UK. We've been enjoying a heat wave. The Royals have been taking a well-earned bank holiday rest weekend. And we've got plenty of stuff to bring to you this week because the King and Queen are out and about. Wales is most definitely taking half-term out with their children in Norfolk. But we've got some things to look forward to over the next few weeks and beyond, so we'll be getting involved in all of that. I'm your host, Russell Myers, Royal Editor of the Daily Mirror, and I'm joined by Jennifer Newton as ever. So, Jennifer, where shall we start? I suppose we had a bit of a come down after last week of the big celebrations with Prince of Wales and Aston Villa. Aston Villa winning their first European trophy for 44 years. We saw William talking to some of our colleagues on the Claret and Blue podcast, which has been seen by millions and millions of people all over social media and on their podcast as well. So well done to the lads who host that every week. We've also seen the King out and about the last couple of days. And I thought it was very, very poignant that he was visiting a cancer centre again. You know, they talk about the 4 C's of Charles's reign, and then it became the 5 C's with cancer. And he really has sort of thrown himself into this at any given opportunity, going to cancer centres, talking to cancer patients. And he was talking about his own cancer journey, reflecting on not only the efforts of the medical staff that he's praised whenever he's gone to these type of hospitals. He was at the Ogden Macmillan Cancer Centre in York Hospital yesterday, and talking about the importance of being able to talk about your diagnosis and the disease, and notably saying that it's everywhere. I mean, it seems very, very prevalent. I mean, 1 in 3 of us will be diagnosing with cancer, and we do really need to shine a light on not only the disease but the people who are treating this daily. We saw Charles go to the cancer centre, the research centre at Guy's Hospital just a couple of weeks ago, talking to the research scientists and some of the patients having treatment there. And this was no different. This has been part of a new £2.4 million redevelopment of the Sir Roger Ogden Centre, which will officially open in July. But Charles was going there as his role as a patron of Macmillan. Do you think that these trips help? I mean, when I was at Guy's Hospital in London just a couple of weeks ago, you saw the reaction on the scientists and the doctors, the patients' faces, and they really appreciated being able to talk about it with him, talk about that, not only the research that's being done, the money that's needed every year to sort of get this research off the ground and make sure that we're still funding the projects that are so vital, but also the patients who are being given an opportunity to speak about their conditions.
Yeah, and I think that's one of the things that makes Charles going to these centres, makes it even, I don't know, maybe more special now, because he has had that experience. He knows what it's like to receive such a shock diagnosis and then have to go through the treatment. And I think you see that when he's speaking to the patients. You know, I think it was a few weeks ago at Guy's Hospital, he was asking about, how food doesn't taste the same, and he can have that empathy with them and know what they're going through, as opposed to maybe somebody that hasn't had that same diagnosis and experience.
Yeah, it's very similar, I think, when we've got William or Harry, speaking to young people who have lost parents. William speaking about grief, mental health. He's spoken about his own personal journey. And it's one thing being a patron of these charities. It's another thing having that lived experience. And you just look at the crowds that were in the foyers and outside Guy's Hospital a couple of weeks ago, and certainly at York Hospital yesterday. There is a real affection, not only for the King and his own journey. I mean, he's still having that treatment. Fortunately, he's been able to scale back that treatment this year, but it's still ongoing. I mean, the Buckingham Palace always talk about the fact that he's learned to live with cancer. There doesn't seem to be an end in sight, I suppose, but he is having that regular treatment. He's able to still maintain this incredible schedule of duties. I mean, he's been traveling around the world, been traveling around the country. He sees that as very, very important. We spoke, I think, last week about the schedule that he's taking on, and not only sort of the big marquee events like royal tours and going to Chogham later on in the year, where no doubt they'll tag on 1 or 2 other countries, very, very important to sort of do the bread and butter aspect of the job, and that involves going to hospitals. And I think that this ties in very, very well. Talking to patients, especially like you mentioned, that his own experience of food not tasting the same. And I think that that will really involve a deep connection with lots of other people who are undergoing radiotherapy and chemotherapy. And that's why he didn't want to reveal the type of cancer that he was suffering from, because and having this anecdotally from Buckingham Palace, that he feels that it's a much he's a much bigger advantage of being able to speak to people who have having all sorts of cancer treatment, if he doesn't sort of pigeonhole himself into this sort of type of cancer he is suffering. Now, we saw not only him meeting patients, a tree planting. You can't have a royal visit without a tree planting. No doubt, no doubt. Shaking the leaves. Good luck, tree. I always love seeing that happen. Now, there's an interesting part of this visit as well, because he was also speaking to people who have having treatment at the centre, but will also benefit from this new centre that is benefiting from the incredible amount of money that has been raised. I mean, it is essentially a lifeline, they were saying, and for him to be a patron of that charity and to be able to again raise the flag of how much money this costs in order to have these centres, how much money Macmillan and all the other charities need. I mean, we see so many people taking on, like the London Marathon or incredible feats of endurance to raise money, and that was part of his visit as well. I mean, does that sort of cut through with his visit? Does it become more of a sense of the wider picture rather than just, oh, Charles has got cancer and he's gone to a cancer hospital again?
I think so, because I think that, draws people in to learn about these things. If he can share maybe not a lot, but just a tiny little nugget of what he's gone through and share that empathy with what other people are going through. And then they realize, there are these centers around, and, one day, unfortunately, somebody you are very close to might have to use them. And yeah, I think it is trying to get the message out there, and also trying to get the message out there about, prevention and screening. When he was on, what was it, Stand Up to Cancer last year, when they said, didn't they, afterwards, that there was a massive traffic spike on their website of people going on to do the cancer checker. So I think, it definitely is. It definitely is cutting through, I think.
Yeah, I think you're totally right. And not only that cut through, I mean, him actually saying the words, it's so important to talk. And that is, you imagine sort of the conversations that he was having at the time of telling his family and then having to tell the aides, and this sort of cascade of people who would have had to been involved in this whole very, very personal diagnosis, and then all the sort of mechanism of the state that needs to be involved. I mean, you would imagine that he's talking to his family regularly. We know that William has said that he is very, very prepared to talk to his father about it. And of course, the Princess of Wales as well. I mean, what an extraordinary couple of years we had. And we saw William speaking about Catherine's cancer diagnosis and the way that she'd managed it all. He was in the Isles of Scilly. I think we touched upon this last week, but he took part in a radio interview. And I just want to touch back on that, because his view of the family and how they've dealt with these diagnoses is really, really important, because it gives it, quite a human element. Because you would have never imagined we would have heard from the late Queen or the Duke of Edinburgh on the sort of really granular details of what they were going through. And even if they'd had operations or procedures in the past and visited hospitals, the late Queen would have never even discussed that. And for Charles now to be discussing, his taste being affected, the fact that he's talking to people, whether that's his family or having regular counselling sessions with Macmillan nurses, I mean, that statement is really, really important.
Yeah, definitely. And I think that's just, it's better to talk. It's better to talk than not talk. And I think that's what's really coming through, both with Charles and William, and, even Kate to an extent. She has starting to share little snippets of what her journey has been like. And if that can just help one person, then I think that's, a good thing.
It is, yeah, definitely. And William was saying at that Heart FM broadcast about how proud he was of Princess Wales, and how she was really looking forward to getting back to Italy, how she's really sort of immersed herself in the whole business of early years. This is very much, again, something that she's dedicated to, who was praising the fact that she's always studying, always looking towards the future. And fortunately, we are looking towards the future now, because, we've got some really interesting trips coming up. We spoke about India and for the Prince and Princess of Wales. That'll be a really big moment, their biggest tour since 2022. 4 years in the making. I mean, what an awful lot has happened since then, but they are definitely laying the groundwork and the foundations. I know you've got an article looking at that this weekend, about how this is sort of the blueprint of the future. Charles is almost trying to complete his legacy. Hopefully, he's got many, many years left in front of him, but he's trying so hard to sort of push forward, move forward his the sort of main key aspects of his reign that he wants to achieve, going to places like Chogam, going to the United States, making sure he's visiting Commonwealth countries, getting all around the country, making sure those 5 C's are addressed. But also, William and Catherine are doing that because they're preparing the blueprint. And tell us a little bit about what you've looked into this week, about how they are very much shaping their future as well.
Yeah, I think what the whole point of it is that, yeah, like you said, they are looking to the future. They can't just rest on their laurels of like, we had a great trip to Italy, or we've had a great success with one of the projects that they're doing. They've always got to be thinking about the future. And I think when I kind of think about that as well, because they are the youngest members of the work and royal family, and I think the future does kind of rest on their shoulders quite a lot. And I think it must be it must wear heavy on them. And I think that is why they have to put these things into place now, because if they just wait until the time comes, whenever that may be, it could be maybe too late.
It would be too late. Yeah, I think you're totally right. And, the people we speak to all the time have said that this is very much an evolution. They're not trying to reinvent the wheel. There will be an absolute respect for the traditions of the past, but we already know about how William feels about his own coronation and the fact of what he wants to continue to be doing. Still talking about climate change and homelessness. That won't shy away from the business of doing that when he is king. However, the very fact that we're hearing more about Catherine wanting to take the early years project abroad and make it a bit more global tells you that is still very, very much a long-term project, still looking towards the future. I mean, this is something that's trying to affect generational change. It's not going to be a quick project, bit of a success story and then sort of move on. That is something that's going to evolve over time, and that is absolutely something that she's going to be doing as Queen. I suppose when you're looking towards what I know you discuss in this piece is about the blueprint and what they're trying to achieve with that. That is still very much a case of making sure the mechanism of the palace is fit for purpose, making sure they've got the right team in place, making sure that they are still looking towards carrying on the king and the late Queen's legacy of going to Commonwealth countries, making sure the big tours are they're available to do the big tours. But I suppose that it will be a very, very different reign in terms of they will still, let's presume, their children will still be young. I mean, they certainly won't be anywhere near working royal status. They will still need a lot of support. I mean, Louis is always 8 now, so he might have 20 years. And so that is the way that William and Catherine sort of tiptoed into royal duties was very much supported by the previous generations, and you've got to expect that will be no different for them. So I think it's very much family first, looking towards having the right team around them, making sure that the sort of furniture is readily available, like you're traveling around the country, incorporating their own personal view of the big projects that they want to do. But also, I think, look at India. That is a huge sign that is great to look towards the future. They're very, very committed to working with the government, as well as tying Earshot in with that. So I think that's definitely probably that's definitely a sign of things to come. Now, as we're talking about William, because he has been out and about in recent days, and we've just seen a video on social media drop. This was at St George's Park, and of course, where the the football season has pretty much now finished. We're looking towards the World Cup. It's going to be World Cup fever, no doubt, in many, many nations across the world. And St George's Park is the HQ of the England football team. They're getting ready to travel out to the United States. The United States, Canada, and Mexico are hosting this year's tournament. But the main ethos of this trip, what we've seen William do before big tournaments in the past, was talking about the team behind the team supporting England's World Cup campaign this summer. And he spent time with staff working behind the team under the manager Thomas Tuchel, from the coaches to analysis, talking to them about how they shape tactics and performance for the players, or the medical staff. God, I mean, they're a huge team around them: nutrition, sports science, coaches, all the people responsible for the player welfare and recovery. But not only them, it's the back office staff who are managing the logistics of the international football and travel, the security, the kit staff, all making sure that they perform at the highest level. But William had sort of a personal message for them. What was he saying to them?
Yeah, so he went to St George's Park to give this personal message to the back room staff, essentially, and he was kind of acknowledging that it's always the players that we always focus on, and people don't really think, like you say, about all of the other people that go into making these tournaments a success, or sometimes not, but yeah, the success.
No,
and
come on, we need our positivity. We need all the positivity we can muster.
Yeah, no, exactly. No, it's coming home. But yeah, so he was talking about, the success of the players is basically down to the success of the people who are working in the backroom staff. And as he's saying, all things are coming in line now. We've had the Lionesses' success. They've had 2 men's Euros finals. It feels like we're closing in on that ambition. And he said, go with my blessings and my best wishes to you all. Enjoy it, look after each other, and give your best. I'm sure we will do well. So good luck.
Yes, I'm going to echo that sentiment, and I'm going to think, we've reached 2 semi-finals and a final recently. We got a new manager. There's been a bit of controversy over the team selection. It's going to be absolutely baking hot in those 3 countries, especially the US and Mexico. But I think that this is it's going to be a great summer of action. Hopefully we can repeat the Lionesses' success. They won the European final just last year, I think, and we are hopefully, as you said, going to bring the title home this year. So lots to look forward to. I mean, just while we're speaking football, I wanted to mention this because it's always I must mention my poor team, West Ham United. They got relegated from the Premier League at the weekend. Absolutely devastated. I was away with my brother at the weekend. He's a West Ham fan, and my father was, and that's obviously what you do. You're supposed to have it through the generations. Now, my wife and her family are all Liverpool fans, hugely successful club, trying to corrupt my children to be Liverpool fans. We live in Brighton on the south coast. Brighton are doing very, very well. They've got into European football. But this doesn't seem to be the way of in the Wales household, because William, we think George is an Aston Villa fan. I mean, he's been to the games, and
I think so.
He was probably very, very jealous of his father going on a school night to see their European glory. Hopefully, he got to stay up and watch it on the telly. But what has William revealed? This has shocked me.
Yeah, so he was speaking to some school children last week when he was on that little 2-day trip to Cornwall, and obviously football comes up all of the time on these William outings now, doesn't it? He's always getting people asking about football, and one of the little kids told him that his favourite team was Chelsea, and he said, that is my daughter's favourite team. So Charlotte is a Chelsea fan, apparently.
If ever there was one. Chelsea probably is their local team, growing up at Kensington Palace. I suppose living in Berkshire now, Reading,
yeah.
They're not too great these days, but I mean, Chelsea, come on. Chelsea are sort of rivals with West Ham, so they're sort of, they don't get mentioned in our house very much. But listen, I suppose when you're at school and there's pressure on other children, this is what I'm expecting from my kids. Maybe they'll be Brighton fans, or I can subject them to a lifetime of misery being fans of West Ham. So anyway, I just before we close, because we are in half term week, we're going to see the King and Queen out and about a little bit this week. The Waleses have been in Norfolk. They've been having a great holiday start to their holidays, because we've had some absolutely belting weather here in the UK. But it was Meghan and Harry's anniversary just a few days ago. We didn't touch upon it because we hadn't seen these pictures yet. But Meghan had put some pictures up on Instagram. These seem very, very nice, actually.
Yeah, so these were all kind of behind the scenes pictures on their wedding day, which is 8 years ago now. And yeah, it wasn't just kind of one or two, it was an absolute string of pictures, probably like 20 in total, showing, behind the scenes of their wedding reception and, behind the scenes of the ceremony and that sort of thing. Quite, I don't know, telling maybe that the only royal featured in any of these pictures was Charles, the bit where he walked her down the aisle. I don't
Yeah, I
know if
suppose
that is
so.
saying something.
Yeah, I mean, it was happier times, wasn't it? I mean, these pictures are great.
Yeah.
I mean, they're just sort of a behind the scenes look to a couple of posts of Chris Allison's pictures 8 years ago today. Meghan said some beautiful images, not only of their sort of wedding reception, but or leading up to St George's Chapel as well. Elton John was singing. You had a huge crowd of him singing there. Who's Harry hugging? And I'm going to show you on the screen. Who's Harry hugging in that picture?
Oh yeah, I think we're not too. I'm not entirely sure, but I think it is a friend, a PR friend who.
Yeah, I thought first of all it might have been Sophie, but no.
Yeah, because the blonde hair. Yeah, I got that as well.
Yeah, we've seen
Yeah.
Harry and Meghan cheers. I mean, what a time that was. I mean, I remember it like it was yesterday. It was just incredible weather. Hundreds of thousands of people packing into Windsor, all up the long walk. It was just a phenomenal time, and we're like, it's incredible to think in this period what has happened then. Let's hope that that sort of image of Charles, the green shoots of a new relationship, can sort of spur both sides of the family onto sort of repairing relations, because I think a lot of us have family difficulties a lot of the time, and it's pretty difficult to sort of move on from that. But hopefully there will be a new beginning for Harry and Meghan, at least from the family side of things. So we're going to wrap up now, because we are, we're sort of light on the engagement side of things, but no doubt after the half term there will be an awful lot to look forward to. The preparations are already starting for Royal Ascot, I can tell you. It is going to be 3 weeks. It is 3 weeks today on the starting this 15th of May, so just over 3 weeks. We have got an awful lot to come at Royal Ascot as well. We'll have some special editions during the week of racing. No doubt we're going to be seeing a lot of the royal family on show as well. So thank you very much Jennifer for joining me once again. Look after yourselves, plenty of sunscreen if you're in the UK. Stay hydrated and take care. See you next time.
Pod save the king!